heart of a forgotten forest, nestled far from the prying eyes of civilization, lies a place shrouded in darkness and mystery. The locals call it the Forbidden Grove, a name passed down through generations, whispered in fear and reverence. Legend has it that long ago, before the world was as we know it, a group of beings descended from the heavens. They were known as the Watchers, angels tasked with observing mankind. But the Watchers fell from grace, seduced by the temptations of the earthly realm. For their transgressions they were cast out, doomed to wander the earth in perpetual torment. I had always been skeptical of such tales. As a journalist, I prided myself on seeking the truth behind the myths. That's how I found myself one stormy night, alone and lost, at the edge of the Forbidden Grove. The rain fell in relentless sheets, and I sought shelter from the elements, unaware of the malevolent presence that watched my every move. The trees, gnarled and ancient, seemed to whisper secrets of a forgotten time as I made my way through the underbrush. As I ventured deeper, I stumbled upon an old, abandoned chapel at the center of the grove. Its wooden doors hung loosely on their hinges, creaking eerily in the wind. Inside, the air was thick with decay and an unsettling sense of dread. The walls were adorned with faded murals depicting angels and demons locked in eternal combat, their eyes seemingly following me as I explored the space. My heart pounded in my chest as night fell, and the chapel's interior grew colder. Shadows danced ominously across the walls, and I could feel the weight of unseen eyes upon me. Drawn by an inexplicable compulsion, I approached the altar at the front of the room. There, I discovered a dusty, ancient tome bound in cracked leather. The cover bore a single word, Nephilim. With trembling hands, I opened the book. Its pages were filled with cryptic writings and illustrations of monstrous beings. Among the text, I found a passage that spoke of the Watchers' punishment and the birth of their unholy offspring, the Nephilim, who were said to haunt the earth, hungering for the souls of the unwary. Suddenly, the air grew thick with an oppressive presence. The chapel's candles flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. I heard a low, guttural growl emanate from the shadows. Panic seized me as I realized I was not alone. The Watchers had awoken, drawn by my intrusion. I ran from the chapel, but the forest seemed to conspire against me. The trees twisted and turned, obscuring my path and ensnaring me in their branches. I could feel the Watchers closing in, their malevolent eyes burning into my back. Desperation fueled my flight, but the forest was unyielding. As I stumbled through the darkness, a verse from the book of Psalms echoed in my mind. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I began to recite the passage aloud, clinging to the hope that it might protect me from the Watcher's wrath. To my astonishment, the forest seemed to respond. The oppressive presence lessened, and the branches loosened their grip. Encouraged, I continued my recitation, my voice growing stronger with each word. The Watcher's growls turned to anguished wails, and the shadows retreated. Finally, I burst through the edge of the forest, collapsing onto the ground, gasping for breath. The storm had passed, and the first light of dawn began to creep over the horizon. I looked back at the forest, now silent and still. The Forbidden Grove had claimed many souls, but on this night, it had been thwarted. As I walked away from the forest, I vowed never to speak of what I had encountered, lest I unwittingly summon the Watchers once more. For in the heart of the Forbidden Grove, ancient evils lie in wait, watching and hungering for the souls of those who dare to disturb their eternal torment. And though the light of dawn may bring temporary solace, the shadows always return with the night. The days that followed were a blur of restless sleep and haunting nightmares. My dreams were filled with visions of the Watchers, their eyes burning with an otherworldly fire, their voices whispering my name. I could not escape the feeling that I was still being watched, that the Watchers had marked me as their own. I sought solace in my faith, spending hours in prayer and reflection. I pored over the Bible, seeking passages of comfort and protection. One night, as I read from the book of Ephesians, I found a verse that seemed to speak directly to my plight. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. I took these words to heart, clinging to my faith as a shield against the darkness that sought to consume me. Despite my best efforts, the sense of unease persisted. I felt a constant, oppressive weight on my chest, as if the Watcher's eyes were still upon me. I began to see shadows where there should have been none, to hear whispers in the dead of night. The world around me seemed to grow darker, more sinister, as if the forest had followed me home. One particularly sleepless night, I decided to return to the Forbidden Grove. I needed to face my fears, to confront the Watchers and lay them to rest once and for all. Armed with a Bible and a crucifix, I made my way back to the heart of the forest. As I approached the abandoned chapel, a chill ran down my spine. The air was thick with an unnatural cold, and the shadows seemed to writhe and twist, as if alive. I stepped inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The murals on the walls seemed more vivid, more sinister, their eyes following my every move. I approached the altar, my hands shaking as I opened the ancient tome once more. The words on the page seemed to glow with an eerie light, and I felt a presence behind me, cold and malevolent. I turned to face the Watchers, their eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. Summoning all my courage, I began to recite the verses of protection from the Bible. My voice shook, but I pressed on, feeling the power of the words fill the room. The Watchers hissed and writhed, their forms becoming more indistinct, more shadowy. I continued, my voice growing stronger with each word. As I reached the end of the passage, the Watchers let out a collective wail, their forms dissolving into nothingness. The oppressive presence lifted, and the air grew warmer, lighter. I collapsed to the ground, exhausted but victorious. The forest was silent as I made my way back to the edge of the grove. The weight on my chest had lifted, and I felt a sense of peace for the first time in weeks. I knew that the Watchers had been defeated, their power broken by the strength of my faith. But as I walked away from the forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that the Watchers were not truly gone, merely biding their time. The shadows always return with the night, and in the heart of the Forbidden Grove, ancient evils lie in wait, watching and hungering for the souls of those who dare to disturb their eternal torment.